Good morning. We're on lesson number 117 of a workbook of the Course of Miracles. It's a review lesson, and it's the review lesson of lesson 103 and 107. And when I picked it up last night, the first couple lines just really made me laugh, and I don't know why, actually. And I just realized today, this morning, just prior to doing this lesson, why. And let me read a little bit of it. It's really short again today. We won't belabor the point of the commentary. Lesson 103 says, God being love is also happiness. And when I read that, I just laughed. And then it goes on to say, let me remember, love is happiness, and nothing else brings joy. And so I choose to entertain no substitutes for love. Now, when I read that, it just made me laugh because it seems so obvious to me that God being love, that would also be happiness, and nothing else could possibly bring joy than to know that God is love. Therefore, so am I, and part of love is happiness. And that love of God, from God, I mean, we tend to call it, we like to use the word unconditional, as if there are conditions, and that's not necessarily true, because there are no conditions, because it's a totality, it's reality, it's whole, that's all there is. There is only love in that sense. So the idea of love itself, while we talk about it here within the illusion of a place where there can be an opposite to love, we talk about it as a way to remove the conditions, as if there could be conditions, and there are no conditions, because it's whole, it's perfect, and it's all there is. This morning, though, as I sat and got quiet to see what this was all about, I realized, and this is something that I wanted to add to the video, to many of us who have yet to have the experience of the reality of love as being whole, perfect, total, all-inclusive, and in the sense as the substance of reality, all there is. To many of us who still have dualistic notions in our mind, or still have the ability to, somebody is sorting out what's real and what's unreal, truth and illusion, as if nothingness can exist. Remember this, you can't understand this course in terms of opposites. All or nothing do not coexist. One eliminates the ability of the other to be true, and therefore neither one it can be whole. To many of us and many of you, we still have this association of love with loss. So the idea of love gets associated with loss. The idea of love is associated with sacrifice, as if there would be something to give up, if would require that in order to love, you would have to also compromise. But there can be no compromise in oneness. There can be no compromise in the totality. There can be no compromise in reality, because there's no opposing position or nothing opposing it that can be compromised. So I want to remind everyone here that part of the purpose of these undoing lessons, of the lessons that undo the way we think is to help us. The lessons act as a catalyst, shaking and breaking up erroneous perception. And then in the nature of what we're offered, our perception snaps back into place so that we see things differently. And what we're being asked to see differently is, and let go of, is our ideas and our associations that we have with love, with happiness, and with joy. To most people, they understand happiness and joy as the lack, in a sense, of its opposite. So they know they're happy because they've experienced sadness, and they know that a joy because it's a comparative condition to misery. And what this lesson and the undoing lessons of A Course in Miracles are designed to bring about is the recognition that those conditions, a condition in which you could think you're miserable, or a condition where you could think it's possible to be unhappy, aren't real. So as to not use them as a way of identifying yourself, and yet in the reassociation identify those with nothingness or meaninglessness rather than reality, and certainly rather than an association with God, as if God would want us to suffer in order to experience love, or as if God necessitates sacrifice for us to lead a life that is divine and godly. None of that is true. The experiences that we have in space-time and the way the ego has set up the associations in our mind, they may indicate that to be true, but here we're undoing those indications of egoic identification. We're not going to see them as good or bad. We're just going to see them as meaningless in the light of what we're coming to know about truth, about wholeness, about God, about love, about reality, about joy, about happiness. We're learning to associate everything with divinity and nothing with the meaninglessness of the illusion, so that we lose the fear that we've had of God in our reality, and all the ideas that we've associated with reality, and let's say the kingdom, as if I need to die to be there. Like I live a life here, and at some point later on in time, I die, and if I've lived the right type of life, then I will get to enjoy the kingdom. And these lessons are designed to eliminate that type of thinking in its entirety. The kingdom is here, the kingdom is now, and you are the kingdom. Make no mistake about it. You can experience yourself as that when we let go and have the false associations of our mind be reassociated with meaninglessness and therefore nothing. You're not nothing, you're something, you're whole and you're perfect. You can't look to the egoically identified conditions that indicate the opposite to discover who you are. You can only use those to allow yourself to say, no, that's not what I am. And I'm not going to believe. Don't tempt me. Get thee behind me, Satan. Don't tempt me to believe that God, in any way, shape, or form even, would want me to sacrifice in order to experience love, or would want me to have to go through hell in order to be happy, or would require me to suffer so that I can more so appreciate joy and happiness. That's not godly whatsoever. God is whole, perfect. God is love, and therefore so am I. That's why the rest of the lesson goes on to say, and so I choose to entertain no substitutes for love. We're making decisions based on the recognition of a totality that's being offered to us through the auspices of Jesus in the lessons of the workbook of A Course in Miracles. And while for a moment we may not experience it that way, we recognize that through the grace of God, and because of the nature of God as being love, the forgiveness that he offers to us is based on love. It's not because we have done something wrong, which is a false association, which I think many of us have. When human minds hear forgiveness, they immediately think something's wrong. They immediately think something has happened. And what forgiveness shows us, because it's associated, it's a function of love here in space and time, is that nothing has gone wrong to deny us God's love, which we are, and nothing has gone wrong that would necessitate sacrifice in order to get back to that condition of being love that we were created to be. I seek but what belongs to me in truth. In truth, in reality, all things, all good things, have already been given to me. And nothing is lacking. That's why the dream is unlike reality. It's a dream that is contradictory to our true, whole, perfect, real, divine nature. So I'm going to seek only what belongs to me in truth. Love is my heritage, and with it joy. These are the gifts my Father gave to me. I would accept all that is mine. We can't accept this partially. That's why half measures will avail us nothing. It's another reason why Jesus says, you will believe this course in its entirety or not at all. Because it's not possible to accept things in reality conditionally. When you have an experience of reality, it's an experience of your totality. It's an experience of, let's call it, a state of being within which there is no opposition, and outside of which there is nothing opposing it. It's unlike this dream in every regard. So when we're claiming love as our heritage, we're asking for all that we've already been given to be restored to our conscious awareness right here, right now. And you can't have, in terms of the way this course is designed, you can't have the duality of partiality. So when you accept God's love, you can't not accept the joy and the happiness of the kingdom as well as being your inheritance. And if somehow in your thinking, and I know it doesn't make sense, I know to many of you, some of these ideas don't make sense. Yet buried deep within us, due to our inability to reconcile illusions with reality and the temptation that we've succumbed to in the past in doing so, there are still moments of love lack that need to surface in order to be looked at with the light of the light that's being offered to us in these lessons, the light of the Christ mind, the light of the mind of Jesus as Christ, which is our identity as well. And as we do these lessons, those things begin to be ferreted out of the dark recesses in our mind and our heart that we suppressed and repressed and relegated them to, in order for us to begin to recognize the nonsensical nature, the nonsense of an old way of thinking in its entirety. And that's what these lessons are designed to do. Again, when you look at it, you have a lesson, God being love is also happiness. So one side of the split in our mind, oh, God being love is also happiness. I seek what belongs to me in truth. So God being love is also happiness. And joy being part of that totality is all there is. Okay. The other side of our mind brings the reckoning, okay, let's only seek for that. Now, into that, into, let's call it, a gap left free of our thinking, what happens is ideas that are unlike unto the truth will surface because our mind is demanding the integrity that's being offered to us by these lessons, by the utilization of these concepts as the light at which we use to look at other ideas in our mind that perhaps still exist. And as they surface, the light that is brought to us by the auspices and understanding of the Holy Spirit and the fulfillment of his function shine on those dark ideas, and the darkness is gone, and they're replaced by that light. And there our wholeness is recognized, and there the experiences that we can have of the divine nature of ourself in reality as being a totality, a principality in the kingdom. My Father's house there are many mansions. Had this not been true, I wouldn't be able to tell it to you. I wouldn't be able to say it to you. You are a mansion. You are a principality in the reality of the kingdom, given everything wholly by a divine perfect Father because of your own divine perfect whole nature. Ideas of anything else cannot stand the light of that truth. And yet we must raise those ideas, bring them to the surface so that they can be seen for what they are, in order to leave no dark spots in our heart and our mind, nothing unhealed, as we rise in our ascent to truth and the restoration of our recognition that we are the kingdom of heaven, right here, right now. And it doesn't require time. It doesn't require sacrifice. It doesn't require penance to do it. It requires a simple recognition that the forgiveness that we're being offered as an action of our mind is not because of anything that we did wrong. It's because of who we are in the rightness of the kingdom, in our right-mindedness. We see that clearly. So it is right-minded to be able to think in terms of these lessons and allow the darkness, not as concepts that we use against another set of concepts that we're not, but as the light that allows the concepts that we've hidden from ourselves and keep the truth in darkness, that keep us in darkness, to rise up, be looked at in light, and be freed. That's open-mindedness. That's the open-mindedness that forgiveness brings us. And because of the experiences that we have, the fearlessness that we allow all things to rise up and be seen. So we're no longer afraid of the meaningless dark ideas, and we could allow the light to shine on them. And where is the darkness when the light has come?